happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say that, I think that's absurd.
Now, I never really liked Ben Shapiro because one, he started out as a never Trumper, and now he's all over Trump now, all over the man. Well, maybe because he's seen that was really the only options that the Republicans really had because, well, I guess the Republican voting base no longer trusted your establishment politician.
And it's exactly the kind of thinking that I personally voted against in the last election. In the last election, I spent a lot of the month of October campaigning with and for the president. I voted for the president. I never vote for anybody generally. I know they're always telling you must vote or you can't have an opinion. Oh, shut up. I don't like to vote, but I did vote this time. I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well. I love Trump personally. And what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian and stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird to even say her name now. Who was that exactly? It was like a bad dream. But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers, summarized most crisply by shut up racist. Whatever you said, it was shut up racist. And it's like, but wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated me like a slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist. And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid, but at least they're answers. At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer. He's not bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand. You are not worth listening to. Be quiet. And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from. It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you. And that's what I voted against above all. I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration. Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect the territorial integrity of the country, bringing in tens of millions of people illegally, giving them free stuff the second they get here, making a mockery of citizenship.
Then lie about it.
I hated all of that. I hated all of that. But the thing I hated most was their total unwillingness to answer any question about why they were doing what they were doing, because it was just too insulting. And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing. I mean, the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls. We knew that. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the US government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me. And I
mean, Tucker's been catching a lot of heat. Like, he was against the bombing of Iran. You try to call him an isolationist, a Qatarian stooge. He's paid by Qatar, paid by Iran. I mean, just because the man said maybe we should have thought about it, the consequences of bombing Iran. Maybe we should think about that instead of being so, oh yeah, we bombed the shit out of a man, America. I mean, I'm all for it. But I'm also for, forward thinking, or I say having the ability to think past Friday instead of just enjoying the recklessness in the moment.
I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original search warrant was served 2007, I think, possibly 2006, I think 7, it was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. And so the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from? And those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them. And
I mean, yeah, Les Wexner, a billionaire at L Brands, and then we got Leon Black. So I'll go talk to those two people who gave, Epstein a substantial amount of money for really not doing too much.
it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. They're not going to put up with that answer. I don't care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of Intel Services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting US president. It's got a whole trail of crimes.
I mean, yeah, it was like a triple team event. Well, a tag team event, damn near. Because it was what? It was the CIA and the Mossad teaming up to take out the sitting president, well, at the time, JFK. Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's what the JFK files revealed. That one, there was most likely 2 shooters, and 2, that Israel definitely had a hand involved, and 3, well, JFK did not like Israel at that time for various reasons.
That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interests. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house.
Yep. Ehud Barak, yes, visited Epstein over 10 times. So, I mean, Epstein has been invited to the White House by Bill Clinton many times. I believe one of the abusers, or one of the people that Epstein was trafficking, said that Bill Clinton introduced Epstein as the king of America. Now, this is coming from one of these women's mouth who was being trafficked by Epstein and all that good stuff. So, you could take it with a grain of salt if you'd like.
I've had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every US citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing at all, that somehow Jeffrey Epstein really did earn $165 million giving tax advice to somebody, which is, for the record, a lot more than most people pay their accountants, and that none of this was actually a foreign intel operation, and that there was no blackmail involved, that actually Bill Gates was just hanging on the island because the weather was especially good. No one was videotaped doing anything immoral or illegal, and then that was used against them to get them to obey. If all of that is false, then just tell me how it's false. But don't call me a lunatic. And when Fox News runs a piece, as they did yesterday by Hugh Hewitt, saying that anybody who's got even more questions about Epstein is some kind of nutcase with an unhappy personal life, who's spending too much time on Twitter in the fervid fever swamps of conspiracies, up yours, buddy. Then why don't you answer the question then? Don't let anybody insult you, anybody, and I mean anybody, ever get away with insulting you.
I mean, look, if somebody got to use shame to like substantiate their claim or their argument, then they're coming from a point of insecurity. If you got to sit here and try to name call me or call me stupid or say, oh, well, you must not be educated to take this stance, then you're coming from a point of insecurity, and I'm pretty sure I can dismantle whatever you're arguing. Because if you got to use shame, then you're not too secure about what you're thinking here. Because most people who are pretty secure in what they're thinking, they're trying to get it to you in the most, I guess, respectful way possible, because they really want to get you on their side. If you got to use shame and all that good stuff, name calling the ad hominems, then yeah, you're pretty insecure about your point.
Instead of answering a legitimate question, okay, ever. And by the way, you will hear certain people say, well, that means you hate the person. No, it doesn't. I've got a bunch of kids. I would never let them get away with that. If I caught one of my kids, smoking weed in the bathroom at my house, I was like, are you smoking weed in the bathroom? Shut up, racist. You hate me. No, you're my child. I don't hate you. Answer the freaking question.
I mean, shoot, you gonna hate me after that, after this ass whooping. I'd have told him that though, like for sure.
Were you smoking weed in the bathroom or not? I'm not the criminal here. You seem to be. So I just think it's really important to get into that headspace. And even now, when people talk about this topic, I can promise you, since I spent all day on the phone yesterday on this topic with informed people, they're like whispering certain words. And I'm like, why are we whispering? Why should I be ashamed as an American about wanting to know what the hell that just was? Why should I be embarrassed? I'm not the bad guy here. Why should I be embarrassed to ask what's in this war for us? We got to go to war. Shut up. You're a bigot if you don't want it. First of all, I'm not a bigot. But second, that's kind of not the point. The point is, what's in it for us? Why is this a good idea? Shut up. And it's exactly the style of argument that I voted against, and I will never accept it. I don't care who does it. I will never accept that. Give me a legitimate answer, a reasonable answer, a sincere answer, a good faith answer. We may disagree. You may say, as a good friend of mine who's like totally deranged, but a good person, said to me yesterday, Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Reading the talking point that apparently everyone, a bumper sticker that is for sale somewhere.
I'm sorry, but I do have to like stupid comments like that right there. No shaming people for abhorrent behavior. There is no abhorrent behavior. We just think differently than you. That's wild. That's what I'm saying. It's like you have no stance for how you actually treat people who think differently than you. Oh, it's abhorrent behavior. Because bro thinks conservatively. Oh my God, bro, y'all are
I guess.
crazy.
And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that means exactly, but how many Americans have been killed by Shia terrorism in my lifetime, which is 56 years? I can't think of any. I'm sure there have been some in the United States. There have been Shia terror attacks sponsored by Iran in the US. I can't think of any. There was 9/11. That was a Sunni terror attack. And then there's the drug epidemic, which has killed more than 1 million people during that same period.
Honestly, if we release the 9/11 files as well, that's also going to have Israel's fingerprints on it. Well, I mean, in two directions. And I mean, well, one, the dancing Israelis. So, I mean, no, not 9/11, but at least the World Trade bombing. So, 1993, the dancing Israelis. Then we got the people who committed the plane crash or who committed the hijacking in 9/11. And the story behind them is a bit weird as well. Like the reason why they did it was very telling.
People I know, my next door neighbor's kid, dead. People, a bunch of people I know have died, and a bunch have been totally screwed up and taken out of life, basically. Their lives have been hollowed out. They're husks. They've been totally destroyed by drugs. That's the reality that I live in the United States. So you're telling me Iran is a bigger threat than the people peddling this garbage? I don't think so. Not where I live, it's not. Oh, shut up. And the person literally said, you know, we're going to have to agree to disagree. Disagree with what? What are you even talking about? But at least he gave me an answer. He didn't say, oh, you hate so-and-so. He didn't go immediately to motive. Okay, so this is always the tell. This is when you know you're dealing with someone who has zero interest in getting to the truth of the question, and instead is trying to make you be quiet.
I mean, it's just like with this whole Texas flood thing. Instead of getting to the truth of what really happened by saying, yo, it's a mishap by the local officials, they're trying to blame Trump. Like, that's the thing. Like, if people don't do their research, they don't truly look into this stuff, they're just looking to rage bait. They just want to get mad at somebody. Like the Epstein files. A lot of people don't really care about the Epstein files. They just want to see Trump's name on it. And if they don't, they'd probably toss it into the fire somewhere out of disappointment. So yeah, we got to understand that there's really people out here who don't care about the situation. They just care about, well, hating their favorite person to hate.
In order to roll over you and make you obey. And the tell is when they go immediately to motive. Well, you just hate some group, or you're taking money from some other group. And neither one happens to be true in my case, but I always feel like saying, well, okay, what if I am getting paid? Or what if I have some kind of creepy bigotry? Which I don't, because I think it's immoral. God created individuals, each one knows the hairs on your head. Each person has a soul. No person is seen by God as a member of a group. Each person is seen by God as an individual.
Yeah.
So I don't like that.
So it is crazy when leftists come out there and say, well, like, remember the hurricane in North Carolina that hit, and they were saying, oh, it's a whole bunch of sundown towns is getting ran over. That's good for those racist white people, even though they don't know those white people at all to even call them racist. Or the video that a girl was saying, oh, well, I don't know why we're feeling bad for those girls in Texas. They actually come from an all-white girls camp, and if they were Hispanic, this wouldn't be getting that much coverage. No, there's actually a girl who said that dumb shit on the left. So yes, guys, there is a problem with the left when it comes to just trying to frame the right for anything or just trying to make everything a political point. Like, that's being too politicized. Like, can we just sit here and feel bad for people who are going through a natural disaster? Like, can we just do that and pray for them without bringing politics into this? Is that impossible? I'm talking to the left here.
And I really don't. I'm not just saying that. And I mean every individual on the planet, regardless of what he looks like or what he believes. That is true of every person. And I sincerely mean that. But even if I didn't, maybe I was some like full wacko. And maybe I was like taking tons of money from some bad country, one of the bad countries you're not allowed to talk about or like. Qatar!
No.
That's the most hilarious. Qatar is kind of controlling our conversation. Qatar, evil Qatar. I am laughing. I've actually been to Qatar. It's awesome. Never taken a dollar from the Qataris or the Qataris or whatever they're called. It's a great country. But whatever. But even if I was like on the payroll of Qatar, which I guess I can't now. But anyway, even if I was, it still wouldn't make the question any less relevant. Why is this a good idea? And their refusal to answer that question lets you know right away that you are not dealing with a person of good faith. You're dealing with a propagandist who is trying to control you. And I would say at exactly that point, that's when you say out loud, I know who you are. This is all fake. You can't even answer the question. You're trying to make me shut up because I'm a bigot, like the liberals did 7 months ago. And that's why we voted them out. So I'm not putting up with that. I voted against this and I won't tolerate it. So the second point I would make, before maybe taking a couple of your hostile questions, I hope about Qatar, is I was brooding about this today. What about the Epstein story is so uniquely infuriating? And I'll just say, I mean, I've never met Epstein, but I mean, I know a million people who knew Jeffrey Epstein. It is true that he was around. Like everyone knew Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think I was cool enough to actually meet him, but like he was just a guy who was kind of circulating around, like this rich guy who knew everybody.
Socialite.
What is it? And everyone knew he was a creep, but then there are a lot of creeps in that world. Just telling you what you probably know already. What is it about Jeffrey Epstein that's so infuriating to people? So infuriating that it's actually causing seismic political problems, and I hope that they'll address it and it'll get better. I really do. But what is it? I'll tell you what it is. It's the frustration of normal people watching a certain class of people get away with everything every single time. That's what it is. And that drives me absolutely bonkers. By the way, it's one of the things that bothers me about immigration. You know, as someone who got arrested in Syracuse, New York as a kid because I had an expired driver's license and brought to a cell, I'm watching people come, that actually happened. I have done time, it does change a man. Yes, I joined a gang. But I watch, 60 million people come into the—
And shout out to my man Daniel Castro. He said, who's Foley? Is he like Dave and Fox Chase mix? Hey, shout out to my man Castro. Hey, appreciate you tuning in, big dog. All right, let's keep it going.
Cell. I'm watching people come, that actually happened. I have done time, it does change a man. Yes, I joined a gang. But I watch, 60 million people come into the country illegally or overstay their fake refugee status or whatever. I mean, the whole thing's a scam. And they get housing vouchers and free education and free cell phones and plane tickets. It's like, wait a second. Not only are they not getting punished for breaking American law, as I would and have, they're getting rewarded for it. The unfairness of it drives you crazy. And it's,
they're rewarding the illegal immigrants more than the immigrants who actually are waiting in line to come into this country. Like the backlog of about 6 million applications for, to come into America. So it is pretty wild how we're sitting here letting people who disrespected our laws, and we're putting them over to people who are respecting our laws by waiting in, putting in their papers and all that good stuff. It is crazy. And shout out to my man James Foley. He says Alpha Omega Big Wave Fox. Okay. Oh Lord. That was funny. I'm not even gonna
particularly galling in the case of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole constellation of people around Jeffrey Epstein, all of whom seem to be getting away with scams. And how do you know they're getting away with scams? I'll tell you how, because they're useless and they're rich. So how do you come to a place where some of the least impressive, most useless people who have no actual skills become billionaires? How's that legitimate? And by the way, if you ask this question, at least in Washington, it's like, oh, well, yeah, it sounds like you're a socialist. Sounds like socialism. Yeah, okay, I'm a socialist now. All right. I was a Qatari agent or a bigot. Now I'm a socialist. All right.
Bro, you was a Qatari agent, an Iranian agent, an isolationist, like all that, Tucker, all that.
Had my committed socialism. Can you answer the question? How did Bill Ackman get $9 billion? Bill Ackman, a pretty impressive guy. I know Bill Ackman. No. Bill Ackman's like well-connected and super aggressive. That's it. And I think, well-connected, super aggressive people deserve a fair living like everybody else. But if you're accruing $9 million just because you're willing to do anything,
well,
I don't know why we have to pretend that's good. How did Epstein get 4 Gulf Streams? How did he get an island, a massive ranch in New Mexico, the biggest house in New York? Like, what is that?
Because he got, this man got Bill Gates to give donations for him. He got Lex Wessler to give donations. Leon Black. Now, all of these guys, maybe not Leon Black, is billionaires. That was giving Jeffrey Epstein a substantial amount of money, pretty much financing his lifestyle. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. Now, Lex Wessler, he has very strong ties to Israel, and he might have been doing it because Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. Leon Black, that's looked like a blackmail situation. And the same thing with Bill Gates.
Like at some
Blackmail.
point, the basic economics really matter. And they matter because not that it's bad that rich people are getting richer, it's bad that everyone else is getting poorer. And it's especially bad that young people can't afford homes. Let me just put a very precise point on this. If you want a measure of how your economy is doing, I personally favor eliminating GDP as a measure. I don't even know what that is. It's clearly not relevant. They tell me Japan has a stagnant GDP. Have you been to Tokyo? It's the single most radicalizing experience you'll ever have because it's just so nice. You lost the war? Really? Can we lose a war and wind up like this? GDP. No. I don't know what even that.
Nah, Japanese culture. Some people blame it on their hegemony. So people in Japan, right? Japan does not have a well, what do they call it? Like the mixing pot of cultures or whatever. Yeah, they don't have that. Everybody in Japan is like 99.9% Japan, and the 0.01 is people who just are military or who just come in there to live. Like there's black people live in Japan, but Lord knows they wasn't born there. And that's how Japan is ran. It's ran by all Japanese people. And I would say that due to this, they have a love for their land, a love for their people, and it's hard for them to commit crimes against each other since they see themselves as Japanese. I know, right? Nationalism can bring down crime because we see each other as the same. I wish we had that same feeling in America. Like we can develop it if we're done being divisive.
That is the total economic activity. Oh, no. My measure is really simple. I got a bunch of kids. Can they afford houses with full-time jobs at like 27, 28? And the answer is no way. And the answer is that 35-year-olds with really good jobs can't afford a house unless they stretch and go deep into debt. And I just think that's a total disaster. That's a complete disaster. Why? Two reasons. One, if people don't own things, they don't feel ownership of the country they're in. And the country gets super volatile because people feel like they've got nothing to lose. When you have a lawn, trust me, you're thinking long term. Second, it's really hard to have a family without a house. It is. It's like super fun to live in an apartment if there's like a bar downstairs, you're in a cool neighborhood. I'm in East Village, it's so cool. Try to have 3 kids. You're not gonna have 3 kids there, you can't. Nobody wants to raise their kids in that neighborhood. Nobody wants to raise their kids in an apartment. People do it because they have to, nobody wants to. People want a little house, not some McMansion, just a little normal house. That is the actual American dream. And that is what is totally unattainable.
I see what I said went over your head, little buddy Barnett. So when I say be more like Japan, I'm talking about the fact that, their race and their nationality. If we learn to love our nationality as much as Japanese people did, then crime would definitely go down because we see each other as American. And why would we want to hurt a fellow American? But no, we're divisive. We see each other as, I'm Republican, I'm conservative, you're liberal, you're black, I'm white. You're pro-abortion, I'm a pro-lifer. Like there's just a whole lot of division instead of unity, even though we're all American citizens. So I see that it went over your head, obviously.
For young people. And so the only young people in general that you will ever meet who have houses are young people whose parents help them. And God bless their parents. That's a perfectly great thing to do for your kids. But most people's parents can't afford to do that because they're already in debt from their pointless college degree. So that is a national emergency. And I know that there are certain cable channels that are spending all this time talking about, they're about to elect a socialist in New York City, which obviously I'm opposed to it. He's not even a real socialist. He's like a trainee vax, rich kid liberal guy. Mom Donnie. He's a fake leftist, but whatever. Why do you think that's happening? One of the reasons it's happening is because normal people with normal jobs no longer believe they can win in this system and that all the money is going to the worst people. And no one even stops to ask, what the hell is going on? How did Bill Ackman get so rich? I know he went on CNBC and talked down Herbalife. Bet against companies by driving down their stock prices. That's what he's been accused of. I'm not accusing him here because he's sue me if I do. I'm just suggesting others believe that might have happened. He's already threatened to sue me for saying that. But there are plenty of people who do that. And I'm not saying even that it should be illegal. What I'm saying is that our leadership class should say something about it and should assign a moral value to it And if you're getting rich by loaning money to people at incredibly high interest rates, that's something you're going to have to talk to God about. That is not good. That is not virtuous. That's disgusting. And the fact that nobody feels free to say that, nobody feels like you can just say like 30% on a credit card? Why is anybody paying a credit card bill? I said to somebody recently, I feel like I'm very moderate and sensible and, well, yeah, that's what they used to call it. It was forbidden. I said to someone recently, you know, we really need a political party where people just like, it's the, hey, I'm not paying my credit card bill party. And let's just bring down Citibank, just not permanently, maybe permanently. But what credit card debt is the single biggest cause of human suffering that I'm aware of in the United States. It's not Iran. Iran's not doing that. Oh, you, a tool of the Ayatollah. No, I'm actually Episcopalian, not Shiite.
Yeah.
Not a tool of the Ayatollah. I'm just very committed to observing physical reality and drawing my conclusions.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Everybody was pretty much saying, oh, you're a Qatari agent. Like, oh, you love the Ayatollah. And it's like, no, I'm just saying that, you know, maybe bombing Iran might push these guys further towards a nuke, and then we'll really be in trouble. And maybe we should have negotiated with these guys in good faith. Maybe. Now, we did take away Iran, one of Iran's main negotiating cards. And I'm happy about that. We took a crazy risk and it worked out. I'm cool with it, but I still think that maybe we should have, you know, negotiated in good faith instead of pretending like we did.
From that. I'm what we call a physicalist. I believe in the things right in front of me, the things I can touch and smell. And the people I can touch and smell are suffering not from Iran, not from Qatar. They're suffering from their credit cards and their inability of their kids to buy a house. Yeah. I don't think Dan Crenshaw is sold on this. Dan Crenshaw believes our threats are in other countries. Okay, they may be, but how?
Hey, and shout out Cumin. Hey, how's it going, sis? She says, remember people saying don't raise minimum wage because it will raise costs across the board? Like, what the hell? Has everyone forgotten that it was raised? Yeah, they do. But if you raise it anymore, here's the thing. Minimum wage actually hurts small businesses. Like, if you raise the minimum wage, it hurts small business. Not really the big corporations, because they can actually afford to pay more, to be quite honest with you. And they do. They do, actually. Big corporations do not pay minimum wage. But, you know, McDonald's and all that good stuff, I guess they want those guys to pay more. Your mom and pop shop, they want those guys to pay more, which would hurt them, but it is what it is. It is what, maybe not, it won't hurt McDonald's, but it definitely will hurt your mom and pop shops or your small businesses. But they don't care about that. I mean, well, that, and when they think about, you know, raising the minimum wage, the way the left thinks about it, or I say majority of the left, it's like a I can't think past Friday mentality. It's like, do you know where this is going to lead?
How are they bigger than credit card interest? So I suggest to this person, who's a really good guy, I was like, hey, why don't we start, I'm not going to pay my credit card bill party, or I'm not going to pay.
And shout out to my man, Doesn't Matter. It's important to remember that both the black and white pieces are on a chessboard are most bitter enemies, but quite often the player who maneuvers the pieces are the best friends. Hey, man, I mean, that was a bar. That's a bar. Man, shout out, man. Hey, bro, shout out. That was a nice one. Doesn't matter.
Pay my mortgage. You know, because they always say, like, if the very rich, if you borrow enough from a bank, you're kind of in charge of the bank because they need you to pay them back. So they're totally happy to negotiate terms with you. But if you borrow a little bit from the bank, they'll just take your house away. So what if people got together and just decided, wait a second, 30% interest is a lot, especially since they're pushing credit cards on kids like crack. And I know that conservatives are always like, well, it's your fault if you don't pay back the credit card. Yeah, okay, it's my fault, but maybe it's a little bit their fault too. They're pushing this crap on kids. So I say to this guy, maybe just people get together, not like everybody, but just a couple million people are not going to pay our credit cards, and just like bring the bank to its knees, and the CEO weeps on television, they readjust it down a little bit. And he goes, oh, no, that's radical. That's too radical. And I'm like, I don't think I'm very radical. I think I'm like very moderate, super moderate. I hate change. My parents got divorced. I hate change. I like things to be exactly the same every day. I'm not radical. What I am is very worried that if we don't do something really soon, we're going to wind up like New York City. That there's going to be actual radicalism. And that radicalism will take very unhelpful forms. And you're going to see race and ethnic hatred that's real, and that you're going to see people behaving in hard to control ways.
All I'm gonna say for the people of New York, like if you guys actually vote in Zoran Mandani as your mayor, I mean, yo, live with it. Live with it. If things go to hell, stay right there because you voted for it. But if you do leave, and you go to a red state or a state that isn't so crazily ran, please leave your bad voting policies behind. Understand that your voting policies would help destroy NYC, and maybe you should stay out of voting other people's, elections. Just because your voting can't be trusted because of what happened in New York. And this is if you guys vote in Zoran Mandani, and if it goes terribly, which if you do, it will, I'll give it 80% will go terribly. 80%, guys. So I don't think you guys want to test it. I will go back to Eric Adams, or you could try it out a Republican for once. I don't know. See how that works out for you.
If you deny people what they actually want long enough and instead substitute things that you claim they should want, like bombing Iran, I'm not for Iran, or you spend all day telling me that it's so important that, boys not playing girls' soccer teams or whatever. I agree. I hate the tranny stuff passionately. I think you should keep the boys off girls' soccer teams. But I don't know. It kind of feels like you're feeding me appetizers. At some point, I want to look around and see a better country. I want to see a country I recognize. I don't want to see people sleeping on the sidewalk. I don't see people ODing on drugs. I want to know where those drugs coming from.
Here's the thing, though. What's so sad about it? Like, even if Zoran comes in, he put in his socialist ideas. Even if it fails, you guys on the left will still say no. It just wasn't done right. No, Zoran didn't do socialism right. He was never a real socialist. No, he was. Just socialism doesn't work, and you guys don't want to admit it. And when it fails, you guys like, no, it wasn't done on a grander scale. If we put it on a bigger scale, guys, it could have worked. You guys are delusional about socialism, even though throughout history it's failed. But for some reason, you guys think that we got the magical economy to do socialism. We don't. Okay, we're no different than any other economy throughout time that got down with the idea of that, capitalism is the way, or this whole country is going to go to shit.
Why can't you stop it? You've got the U.S. military. Don't you have SEAL Team 6? Like, what are they doing today? Don't you have Delta Force? You could give me another segment about how impressive the U.S. military is? I believe you. Why aren't they employed to make my country better? Why are my cities disgusting? I don't want to go there. It smells like weed and halal food. And you're lecturing me about how it's a great moral victory that I kicked the boys off the girls' soccer team? Good, I'm so glad. But let's do the real stuff, like making New York livable and create an economy where my kids can have kids. How about this? How about we just make the measure really super simple? Can my children have without the benefit of like the great luck I have had, can they have a roughly approximate life that I had? Or how about just a middle-class life? Can they like get married young, as I did, and like have 4 kids and, take a couple jobs, work hard and all that stuff? But in the end, it's like, fine. Can they do that? Or is that like so remote a possibility?
Whoa, Tucker, you said take a couple jobs. I mean, bro, these people want to just be able to work one job and support everything. Which, I mean, depending on their education level and what they're doing, they should. But we got people out here who want to work a low-skill job, work 40 hours at that low-skill job and be able to support him, a family, kids, and all that. And if he can't do that, then the system is unfair. And I'm just like, no, you're just a loser. Sorry. Like, even Tucker Carlson was saying, like, bro, even under better economic time, this man still had to work 2 jobs. Bro, even my parents will even say, yo, we were paying for gas less. Like, we had things cheaper than you guys do, but we were still working our ass off. It's only today where we feel like, oh, well, we should be doing less work, but get more. It's like, bro, what type of generation we living in, man?
Ability, but you need to tell me that Iran is the real threat. Take my mind off the fact that you stole all the money and screwed up my country beyond recognition. So I guess what I would say before I have an actual aneurysm is, unless we say to the people in charge, we are going to determine what's important, you need to listen to us, your voters, about what we actually care about. I'll take a lecture for about 10 minutes. I can do that. I went to school. I'm used to sitting there and being like, oh, yeah, okay, the Axis powers, that's so important. Thank you for telling me. I can take a lecture for about 10 minutes, and they're like telling me Iran is the greatest sponsor of terrorism. Okay, that's great. I hate Iran. Got it. But at some point, I want to pipe up and say, yeah, but
no, more like the people say, nah, back in the 80s, the 60s and 80s. No, I'm talking about early 90s, early 2000s. That's the time I'm talking about. I mean, where gas was basically $1. Like, guys, I was around and walking. I was like out there looking at the world and all that. Like, things were definitely cheaper. Rent was definitely cheaper. I mean, everything was cheaper back in the day. We're talking about 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. And before, oh, wait, and this whole housing thing crash happened. And then ever since then, I'm gonna be real with you, prices have kind of been on the up and up. But hey, that's just the way it works, I guess.
What are you going to do about Union Station in Washington, D.C., which is filled with passed out?
But no, you guys complaining about the 60s and the 80s. No, guys. Even back in the 90s and the 2000s, trust me, people were talking about, well, we had a better economy, but we still got to work 2 jobs. Honestly, I would say this. If you honestly think that all you got to do is work that one job with low skill, no education or anything, I mean, you're crazy. You're crazy. You didn't put enough hard work to get that luxury of just working one job for 40 hours and being able to take care of a whole family. You ain't work hard enough for that.
Drug addicts with spreading urine stains. Like, it wasn't that way. I was here. How did that happen? And why aren't you fixing it? And by the way, if you don't fix it or even acknowledge it, dude, bad things could happen. Like, wake up. Time is to wake up out of your freaking fantasy world where you think telling the rest of us to shut up is enough. If you keep doing that, this could go in dark direction. So I think it's so important for every person to look around and make your own decisions about what's important. What's important to you? What around you in your life? What do you see in your family, among your friends, in the town that you live in that's going wrong? Those are the biggest problems. Not what some shill on television is telling you your biggest problems are. He can shut up, but he won't. But look around. What's the biggest problem in your life? And if you're burdened by a car loan or some credit card payment you can never actually make, if you can't afford to make the full payment on your credit card 2 months in a row, that's a crisis, okay? That's a crisis. If you're in the hole to DraftKings to a point where you can't pay. No, I'm serious.
No. Let's be real though. DraftKings is sinister. Like, these guys are low key wild as hell. You should, if you're using DraftKings, stop it. Stop the gambling. Gambling was never a good thing. It was never supposed to be a habit that we just picked up. You should honestly stop gambling because you can never beat the house, and if you start winning too much, DraftKings is going to limit your account, so there is no beating it. Nothing, and they're going to give you wild ass parlays that you can never truly win. So let's be real, guys. This whole gambling stuff, it's an addiction that you need to take care of, or else you just lose all your life savings and possibly your family. But hey, if you're okay with that, then hey, keep it going, guys. Keep going.
These are huge problems, and most of them are money related. And if they're not solved, you're not getting married, and you're not having children, and you're not going to have a happy, fulfilling life, period. And they tell you, oh, it's all about values. Yeah, okay, values. You can't afford a house? I don't care what your values are like. You're not having 4 kids in an apartment. So you need to be heard on that. And anyone who tells you, oh, shut up, racist, hoist the middle finger and tell them, keep talking to me that way, pal, and we'll punish you. Anyway, sorry, excuse me. Do we have any hostile questions about Qatar? Yes. Well, that's so nice. Tell your mom I love her. Okay, your mom does too. Any questions? Yes, sir. What do I think about amnesty for farm workers? I think it's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard. Are you joking?
I said the same thing.
Amnesty for farm workers?
I didn't say it was the grossest thing I've ever heard. I just said that, no, I think we need to be consistent across the board. They came here illegally. It don't matter if they're working on a farm. And let's be real, the farmers who are complaining about their farm help is not paying their farm help like minimum wage. They're paying them below minimum wage. So if you're saying that we funded a farming industry based off low wages, low slave wages built on the backs of illegals, yeah, we need to get rid of that. I don't even think they should even get that luxury. I don't care. Let them go out there and pay some 14, 16-year-old to pick the fruits and the cotton and all that wild stuff. The cotton. But yeah, let them go out there and do that. Let them be that. Let them be their summer job. A lot of 14-year-olds that need to get to work. And 14, 15, you can go out there and start picking fruits. And if you're in North Carolina, maybe a little bit of cotton.
We have like 60 million illegal aliens in the country. The country bears no resemblance to the country I grew up in, and it's not better, it's worse.
Yell at Tucker.
So I'm not going to sit for another lecture from.
I ain't gonna lie. You know, one of the other reasons why we were so prosperous as a nation back in the day, kids used to work a lot sooner. They used to be helping hands-on. It's only in today's world we want our kids to just sit there and be spoiled as hell on an iPad and not do shit. And then we're proud of the fact that we were able to afford that luxury to our kid when we really just spoiled their ass for life. So yeah, I'm okay with actually sending these kids back out into the workforce because that's what actually built responsible kids, and it low-key stabilized the family income. I mean, hey, I know a lot of people that I grew up with that had to pay bills at 14, 15 years old, and they're better adults for it. Why? Because their parents made them go out there, get a job, and they said, oh, you want to live here? Great, give me some of that paycheck. Like, man.
Anybody telling me we need to import more people to write code or pick grapes or any other task, period. It hasn't worked. The country hasn't gotten richer. It hasn't become more
I mean, your parents made you do chores. Are they pro-child labor?
Unified. Those words should burn on the tongue of anyone who utters them. How dare you talk like that?
Yes,
amnesty.
I did.
How about
actually, yes, I was moving tires. I was moving tires at 14. I was moving big metal appliances out of a goddamn back of a truck. What, for like $100? Why? Because I'm 14, 15. I want a little money in my pocket. I ain't trying to be like the rest of these brokies around me that was 14, 15, not doing shit. I wanted to do shit. So it was like, bro, it's easy. Yes, I was 14 years old, helping my dad work, helping his friends get some work done. I was out there literally trying to find work to do. Like, not like these lazy ass bastards of today.
Deportation. What about that? I mean,
that's what I'm saying, Michelle. It's like maybe it's just our generation. Like, I'm like, bro, I'm just 30. I'm 30. So maybe it's back in our day where it was just like cool for kids to work. Like, we got chores. I mean, what? Your parents love child labor too? So I get all the heat, but your parents don't get no heat for making you clean your room and go what? Rake the leaves, mow the grass, shovel the snow. Okay, but I get all the blame. All right. But I love child labor. Okay. At least I'm honest.
And let me just say, people say all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it's happening. But I think it's worth being a little paranoid about it. I mean, I think everyone in this room is paranoid.
Okay, then you definitely understand what I'm saying. You definitely understand.
It's important to make sure
more than me,
even the people you love are true to their word. Doesn't mean you hate them. Again, I don't take my kids at their. I love my kids more than anything. I don't automatically believe everything they tell me.
Bro, are you dumb?
Because I'm not a moron.
Bro, are you dumb? Yeah, F school. Go to work when you're 10. I said, well, honestly, 13. Why not? F it. You're hitting puberty. You can go out there and get it. But no. Bro, when I said, did you not work a summer job in high school? Like, what's going on here? Am I dealing with a bunch of lazy ass kids? Like, what are y'all all little boys? Like, y'all crying about kids working? Like, what? Like, dog, these kids want to work. I remember when I was 14, I was anxious to want to get out there and start making some money and saving up for cars and other stuff. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, a kid's gonna feel very proud working, knowing that they can get things for themselves through their own hard work, and it makes them appreciate money. Like, what, you just want to spoil your kid and give him that iPad? Like, shit. I'm just saying, guys. I feel like the guys that are like my age and over kind of understand what I'm getting at here.
Because they understand that people don't always say the truth. So, but anyway, yeah, any kind of amnesty is not only a bad idea, it's like outrageous. Anyway, sorry, I've been told to take the mics. I'm sorry, I know you guys have good provocative questions about Qatar, but I've been asked to talk to this guy.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm spun up, baby.
First off, I'd like to thank you for coming to this event. I'm 20 years old. I've been watching you for the past 12 years of my whole life, every single night. I've always listened to you, so thank you for coming. We love to listen to your opinions, listen to you preach basically to everyone. My question is, in your opinion, we have individuals in this country that are full citizens that are also full citizens of other countries. In your opinion, how can somebody pledge allegiance to two countries at the same time? And is that something that we should be allowing?
I mean, I think your question says it all. Obviously, that's absurd. I quote the New Testament, but I also refer to common sense when I say that no man can serve two masters. It's not possible. I only have one wife for that reason. You say to your wife, I'm going to take another wife, but I'm going to love you just as much. Nothing's going to change. My wife's going to look at me like, no, it's one wife, one wife. Because you can only really pledge your loyalty to one person or one country. That's just a fact. And there's also a sense, and this is relevant to me, and I know you're speaking about Israel, but it's not just Israel, to be honest. I think it's a huge...
And shout out Misfit Supervisor, aka Qmich. All these adults afraid for teens to work, for real. Like, man, that is wild to me, though. It's like, hold on. You know, back in the day, kids working was kind of helped out your average family. Like, that's just so weird to me. I don't really think I never thought for a second that, you know what, maybe if I just put an iPad in front of a kid all day, maybe hopefully they'll become a programmer instead of putting a kid in front of a computer and buying him a programming lesson. Like, I know there's somebody literally saying, well, maybe they'll get an iPad and they'll learn how to become a programmer. You sound stupid. I'm be honest with you. No, you put a kid in front of a computer, a laptop, buy him or buy a programming simulation or a programming software and let them figure that out. Let them figure out Python, Java, and all that good stuff. And come on now. Like, that's how you get it done. Bro, I'm fearing for these kids, man. If this is how some of y'all adults are really talking right now, I'm fearful for the next generation of kids.
Problem. I think anybody, by the way, who serves in a foreign military should lose his citizenship immediately. There are a lot of Americans who've served in the IDF. They should lose their citizenship. There's a lot of Americans who've served in Ukraine, and they should lose their citizenship. You can't fight for another country and remain an American, period. Obviously. I mean, it's like not even, it's so funny how all of us have been cowed into being like, oh, that's hate speech.
I don't.
No, it's not. You don't hear hate in my voice.
I don't. I work. So, yeah, I work, my friend. Like, and then the bro is going like, oh, like, bro, just take your L. I'm like, no, guys, you take your L. You're a lazy bastard and you know it. I think I just low-key hurt y'all feelings, to be real with you. It's like, I just exposed you in front of this entire chat how some of y'all are lazy and some of y'all are just computer kids or gaming kids who ain't never had to do no hard work. That's the fact of the matter. I mean, you are honestly lesser than your predecessors, lesser than the generation before you, because you're a bunch of lazy bastards who just sit on the computer and game all day. Like, yeah, you know what? Now I really am for child labor now. Let's get these kids off the goddamn game and let's put them in the fucking field. Why not?
Boys, because there isn't any.
My language.
It's just an obvious recognition of the truth. But there's a more insidious thing. And I say it's not just Israel. I'm not just trying to like give myself cover. I'm being honest. There are a ton of countries that offer citizenship, actually, some of which I love. I have been offered citizenship in a couple of different countries that I really like, and I thought about it. And then I thought, no, there's something about being lashed to the mast. Like, everyone can see that America's in trouble, the demographic trends are really bad, and the country's decaying, its cities are falling apart. So you're like, oh, wow, you know, maybe I should flee. And then I'm like, my ancestors are from here. My parents are buried right across from my kitchen. I'm staying here. And the second you make that decision in your head, like, I don't care what happens to America, I will be here. It totally changes your attitude. You're like, I don't even care. It's my country. And they've been here for so long and fought in all of these wars. My ancestors, and I'm sure yours, would be totally shocked by some of the conversations. Foreign flags in the Congress? Are you joking? Get out. And so, no, once you decide you're all in on your country, it really changes the way you approach everything. And by the way, it should be the baseline requirement. You shouldn't be allowed to serve in government if you're not a US citizen or you're a dual citizen. Are you joking? Of course not. And I would love to know what the justification is. And of course, there isn't one, which is why they're allowed to just write you off as some sort of like freak, some internet freak, hater, Nazi, whatever. No, I'm not. Just an American who loves my country, and I think it's fair to demand that the people running my country love it every bit as much as I do.
All right, alrighty, Tucker. Thank you for being here today. My question is mainly focused on national security. I have a question first and then a proposal. I'll see how you go about that.
Now you're freaking me out. You got a
All
Rumble
right,
hat
all
on. I
right,
love
I
you
got
already. All right.
All
I'm going to
right.
stop and have an Alp, which is America's premier nicotine powder.
Go for it. Alrighty, so I was born in Cuba. I came at the age of 2, so I can attest to the fact that the socialist experiment doesn't work at all.
Yep.
And that America is the best country in the world.
Yep.
So
I agree.
You know,
I swear to God, white guys love they dip, bro. I had a mixed biracial friend, right? Love this guy to death, bro. This man loved dip, and every time he tell me, like, bro, yeah, this is my white side right here. I was like, bro, the dip, man, the dip, bro. I remember I tried that thing one time and had my head spinning.
I'm a U.S. citizen, and I'm very proud of that, and that's why I stand for my country every day. But I have a question specifically about national security.
All right, hit me with it,
Okay.
baby. No preamble. Just go right to it. You can't scare me.
So, for example, I would say that the head of the snake for a lot of the spying that goes on in the United States is Cuba. For example, we've found evidence that Venezuela, Nicaragua, like all the issues with immigration are because of the socialism going on in Latin America.
Yes.
And Cuba's an outpost for human trafficking, drug trafficking. We have Chinese spy bases on the island. We had Russian missile testing under Biden. And then on top of that, Cuba doesn't even recognize Gitmo as American territory. So my question for you is, what should the United States stance be on Cuba and the liberation thereof? And my proposal
That
is,
has nothing to do
if
with
you're
me.
willing to do some sort of documentary on Cuba, and if I could help you out on that.
Well, I always appreciate.
Alex, your money making and my advocacy for children working on farms does not correlate. Actually, making money and advocating for children working on farms has no correlation whatsoever. I mean, you know what, my man, go ahead and take a nice little seat. I'm gonna give you a little 600-second rest, so you can chill out from your TDS for a little bit. Because my man, I mean, you know what, you ain't been that bad. So I'm gonna give your ass 3 Kool-Aid packs. Yep, 3 Kool-Aid packs, Sinai included, my friend, because you are part of that TDS cult, the leftist cult. And here's your Kool-Aid packs to go right along with your cultish ideas. Go ahead and sip it slowly.
The offer of assistance. I would say we've had a Cuba embargo. So the revolution was 1959. So that was, well, 60. Could that really be 66 years ago? That's crazy. And we've had an embargo for much of that time. And you just said yourself, it hasn't worked. It hasn't liberated Cuba. The same regime is in charge, and it is still, working to undermine the interests of the United States. So what we're doing isn't working. I think that's a good place to start. So I know from living in DC that whenever someone tells you like, it's not working, we need to double down on it, they're lying. So I think we need to reassess, are sanctions really the answer? And if so, tell me how that's worked. Second, I would say, I'm sure.
Hold on, I accidentally missed the super chat. I apologize. Shout out Rose69. Yeah. He said you are, well, he or she, well, you are a refreshing voice compared to another one I have seen on here. Thank you. Well, hopefully you're not talking about my man Jolin or anything like that. Apparently everybody likes to kind of compare me to him since I do the call-ins and all that good stuff. But I definitely do appreciate that support though. Appreciate it.
Everything you say is true. I don't think that most Americans, and I know the US government doesn't, spend a lot of time thinking about our own hemisphere because we're so focused on places like Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Gaza, Israel, all great places. I'm not, attacking anybody, but I'm just saying those are thousands of miles in an ocean away, whereas Latin America is right there, and what happens there is a direct effect here in our migration patterns and in our drug importation. So maybe we should focus on our own hemisphere. I think you made a powerful case for that. And I don't understand why the US military is stationed in Japan, Korea. I mean, I know that you get a long answer, how we're spending $1 trillion to secure places that pose no imminent threat to us while ignoring our own continent, ignoring Mexico, which is the most hostile country in the world, the United States. Obviously, there's migrants
Yeah.
coming through Mexico.
I mean, I can hear that argument. They are kind of just letting their citizens leave their country, run across our border, and then these guys have the nerve to say, oh, this was once Mexico, so how dare you guys try to send us back? Like, are you serious? Why don't y'all tell Mexico to bring their ass over here and fight us about it? And if they lose, we taking all of Mexico. I thought so.
How are they our ally? Canada, how are they our ally? Maybe we should spend some time
Now, Canada is a bit wild, though, because they do work with the CCP. They do work with the Chinese Communist Party, which is wild as hell, but they're one of our friends, right? Unfair trade policies, work with one of our biggest enemies, but they're our friends, guys.
orienting here. So anyway, that's my answer. I'm against socialism, obviously. That's why I'm worried about our economic system, because I think we're going to get socialism if we don't pull back from this.
All right, we got one more question.
One more question.
Hey, Tucker, I'm a big fan. I would love to work for you. I did give my resume to Steve Bannon. It would be hilarious if you two fought over me. I'm just saying. That would be great.
It'd be like a real bitchy cat fight.
It'd be a hell of a story. Yeah. My family has fought for this country. I voted MAGA 3 times. My generation, just like you said, is convinced it can't trust the institutions and the administration, even this administration after last Monday. America first means America first, not foreign governments, not rich pedophiles. I have a lot more about the history, but I'm going to get through it out of respect for everybody. Basically, my questions are this. How does anybody possibly expect us to have any trust in our government, pay taxes, accept draft orders if these elites are not held accountable, right? And how am I anti-Semitic? My great-grandfather killed Nazis, and I brag about it. My mother's doctor was a Holocaust survivor, and everyone calls Trump a Nazi. My family in Chicago and my family in Ireland, which are both liberal hellholes, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty convenient.
But here's the thing, though. It is wild to call Trump a Nazi. And you know, I'm like, all right, well, can you name me anybody that he's killed? Like 6 million people. Name them right now. Name 6 million people that Trump is off. Actually, name the group that he's persecuting right now. Name the group that he's putting in concentration camps, please. Because remember, he's Hitler. So I want a exact comparison. I want you to be able to exactly compare this man. Make me a believer. Well, you can't, but I would like to see you guys try at least. Like, make it make sense.
That if he did criticize Israel, everyone could just say, look, I told you so, but that's not the point. Anyways, and finally, and by how am I anti-Semitic when all my sources are Jewish, Israeli publications, and Holocaust survivors? And finally, and by far the most important, why can I burn an American flag in my country, but I get a mark by my name if I burn Israel's? Like, how?
I think that's an entirely fair question. It's totally outrageous. You got 65 million people here illegally, according.
Hey, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. He got some cojones for asking this at Turning Point USA. When I do believe a majority of those people on there, I would say maybe like 30 to 40% are Zionists. That's why you heard a very slow clap when he, said all that.
The administration, and the only ones who were deported are ones.
According to Ted Cruz, those who bless Israel are blessed themselves. According to Ted Cruz in the Schofield Bible.
You criticize a foreign country. I don't understand it. It's driving people insane, actually, and it's making people angry in a bad way. And I go on, X, and I see stuff. It's like, I don't even want that in my head. I don't want that. I don't want to marinate in that. I'm a happy person. I have a great life. I love this country. I love my dogs. I love my children. I love my wife. And you go online and people are so mad. I mean, I've never seen anything like the rage online. And I get it. That's the worst part. I get it. People go crazy after a while if you totally ignore their concerns, if you call them names rather than answering their questions. I really think we need to agree, and this would include the Department of Justice, which is running around, it's got task forces attacking people. It's like, stop. What matters in this country is not what religion, ethnicity, race you are. It's whether or not you're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's like one thing that I do not agree. I think it was Mark Rubio who started taking people's green cards away because he was leading the front on it. What's that one kid's name that we locked him up, took him away from his wife because he had a pro-Hamas or anti-Israel rhetoric, right? And I disagreed with that because I'm like, nah, bro, I don't care if he's a green card citizen. I get what you're saying. Oh, you don't got the right to come over here and protest. Well, due to freedom of speech, they kind of do. And if y'all want to start making that a thing, well, you should have started at the beginning. You just can't sit here and watch a green card person protest something that you don't like, and now you want to lock the guy up. It's like, no, that's not fair. Let him out. Let him continue protesting, peacefully protesting, because he's not hurting nobody.
Citizenship has to be the thing that holds us together as a country. We're all Americans. And this continuation of identity politics is the most destructive thing we can do. We are all the same under the law. There is nobody, rich, poor, no matter what your religion, what your color, who's held to a different legal standard, period. That has to be the rule, or else this country will fall apart into warring tribes.
My email is ryanscottcasey@gmail. If I could send you my cover letter, I really.
Ryan Scott Casey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, shout out Tucker. All right, now let's get over to Dershowitz, because this was a pretty interesting video that I shared on whoops. Oh, here it is.
Fact that the
But yes, let's get on to Dershowitz, because yeah, he did come out with some bombshell claims and pretty much going against what Pam Bondi said and making it look like a complete idiot.
Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz has come out with the bombshell claims that he knows for a fact that the Epstein list exists and exactly who is on it. With a hand to God, he says the list is being suppressed to protect the individuals on that list, but he is bound by judge-imposed confidentiality to remain tight-lipped on the details.
Let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed, and they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them, but I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Commentator Bill O'Reilly agreed, saying the list was suppressed to protect reputations of innocent Epstein associates.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be.
He then went on to demand that all information be released after he was wrongly accused.
We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights to privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory.